Researcher and historian Theo Pymans has collected a number of original documents from the Vril Society that avoided destruction at the end of the war and would shed a light on some of their secret activities.
Now there's a huge amount of mythology surrounding the Vril Society. And I've been researching this topic for more than 25 years after having first read it. And if you look upon the Vril Society, you see that there's various kinds of stories. There's a huge amount of tales. In fact, what I found out was that their main focus and their main thrust was the development of a new kind of technology. And after many, many years of research, I finally was able to find some documentary evidence. Reading these texts, what became immediately clear that the technology that they describe is a mixture of avant-garde technology but also esoteric thought, which is very interesting. It is as if these people discovered something so new and so different from everything there was before that they could only resort to certain esoteric phrases in order to describe what they had found. Now, and the key element of this technology was they only would be needing one machine in order to give the whole world this form of technology.
According to records, documents, and declassified footage from the time, the Nazis took this connection to UFOs very seriously, even, it said, building their own flying craft.
But from 1933 onwards, they gave huge priority to unconventional types of aircraft machine. The Germans were leading the world in rocketry. They were leading the world in unconventional anti-gravity research, and they were leading the world in unconventional propulsion systems. There were certainly prototypes, there were plenty of blueprints, and there appears to have been one successful flight. Short and not very far, but still a successful test flight.
First of all, nobody else had a UFO program, only Germany, it would appear. And at first, as you might expect, it didn't really succeed, but there's accounts of spherical craft, UFO-looking crafts launching into the air, but only a few feet and only for a brief period of time. But later, in World War II, there's all kinds of accounts of these Foo Fighters, a generic term given to these spherical devices that were approaching Allied planes and just causing a distraction, but also aggressively behaving and, in many instances, attacking the Allied planes. The characteristics of the Foo Fighters, they were really bright, and not overly large, small sort of inflamed-looking spherical objects that behaved very erratically. And that's the thing that really gave the Allies the distinct impression that this is advanced technology. First of all, what is this ball of light doing following my plane? And how can it possibly behave so strangely? It can move so quickly and turn on a dime and go back the other direction and then attack. This was brand new, and you can imagine how frightening it was to people who were flying conventional crafts at the time.
Did the Nazis take the blueprints to build these round flying machines, and did they make them? And did they fly them to their secret bases in Antarctica?
It was so secret that very few people, even within the Third Reich, knew about it. It was top secret research. I mean, only certain engineers were involved. And the actual designers of this particular flying saucer went on to work in America and Canada.
They had what's now known simply as the Vril women. Apparently there was a kind of inner circle of mediumistic women. There was one called Maria Orsek, there was one just known as Sigrun, and they were supposed to be rather beautiful. They had incredibly long hair, which, I mean, I'm sorry, I am going to smile because it is mad. They believed that this long hair acted as antennae for them to be in touch with these aliens. There were reports that in one particular seance, these female Vril mediums, contacted extraterrestrials from the constellation of Taurus, who gave them, through automatic writing, messages. One was a message in Templar code, allegedly. One was apparently ancient Sumerian writing, and one, which was really quite special, was the blueprint for some form of flying saucer. What was interesting was attending that particular seance were Nazi engineers and people who would seize on that and think, we could maybe make something of this, literally.
When you analyze the few remaining Vril Society documents, it seems clear that its members were intent on developing a real flying saucer of some description. Theo Pymans has unearthed a document from the archives which seems to point to some extraterrestrial force.
This is a very obscure pamphlet. You can only find it in one library today, and in it they describe this novel form of technology, and they even ask people, if you are interested in this, come join us. Now people might wonder, okay, why did such an organization or such a secretive group like the Vril Society exist in Germany and not, say, in other parts of the world? Well, we must understand that there's a couple of factors involved. In the 1920s, 1930s, Germany was at the forefront of new discoveries. We must understand that even people like Albert Einstein originally came from the German language areas. There's also the fact that German engineering was at the peak of what it was able to do.